Hello, listener. Welcome again to the only anti-Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast on the planet, the last bastion of resistance against the lizard people's cultural hegemony. Uh, I'm Discourse Stu, aka Tyrell James. With me, as always, is
Hi, I'm Nicole, and yeah, Winter Soldier is not a good movie. Okay, come at me. Yeah, this is you. You messaged. I was like, I messaged you on Discord 20 minutes into the movie when I realized, oh no, the Russo brothers are allergic to actual sets and long takes, and so this entire movie is just
and
most of it is badly composited green
and
screen.
really any elements of style that aren't pastiche. Like you can tell they watched.
I messaged you when you were like, I'm so sorry that I know what it's like when something bad doesn't or something doesn't live up to your expectations upon review. And I'm like, I was just like, oh honey, don't be sorry for me. I've finally I knew deep down this was probably going to have aged as bad as the first Iron Man movie. And it did. I used to have this movie ranked as like a 4-star and a heart movie on Letterboxd. Yeah, no, that's this movie gets 2.5 stars. The half star is because of the queer reading you can read into it that makes the story much more interesting, even though it's like a total projection. And because Chris Evans has a really tight wife beater in that one scene, and he looks great.
I saw that, and I immediately thought of you.
And also because the two like male leads are like really hot. I'm not immune to Chris Evans. Listen, I'm not.
I think we've well established that.
We've very well established it, but like, oh my!
Like if he just sent you like one of those like cameo like 10-second voice clips, it's like, come on, you'd bump the movie back up.
I would absolutely love
stars.
that. No, I would if he was like, come on, yeah,
come on.
But like, I think what really puts us into perspective is just thinking in comparison to First Avenger, which has all those nice like pulpy elements, has some practical sets, it has some style, like it feels like a movie.
Yeah.
It looks like a movie, and yeah, there are some like
at least
CG
like some
stuff,
of the time,
but like it is. I am not looking at people standing in front of giant windows that they are clearly not standing in front of because the actor is standing in front of a green screen, and those windows were either shot on location somewhere else or completely the invention of the visual effects algorithm.
It's honestly
it's almost comedic the way this movie looks.
Here's the thing. The worst kind of green screen shot is the green screen shot against a bright environment or background, because the way they have to light them, because the thing with the green screen is you have to light the whole screen consistently.
Yeah.
So that the chroma key works, so that the computer knows it's all that one specific shade of green he's replaced everything with. So you always have this or not always, but you tend to have this like over bright, flat TV show lighting and this extra like soft sheen bloom that it feels like you're playing Elder Scrolls Oblivion with the default settings on. And I just hate the way that looks. I hate it so much. I would rather have rear projection or like kind of crappy like late 80s blue screen, almost anything else other than that. I just hate the way it looks so fucking much, and this movie has way too much of it.
Like, so much of this movie looks like that one shot at the climax of David Lynch Dune, where they're like riding on top of the worm.
Oh, where they're riding on the sandworm, yeah.
Where they're riding on the sandworm.
But at least that doesn't have that bad lighting thing, right? Because that's rear projection.
But yeah, on top of the light.
So at least it's like better that, like, lit.
This movie, and I really hope this is our like big breakthrough episode, because this is regarded as like the best, or at least one of the best.
This is where we diverge, where we go, no, actually, this is also one of the crappy ones. It's not like, I mean,
we said that about the first Iron Man.
Yeah, but we still had like I think like it was still like fine. It was just not as good as we remembered. But this is really like, it's not like Hulk Thor 2 bad.
No, God, it's not.
Like it's still not like you could watch it on an airplane. You know, the cast is good enough. The action's okay.
Sebastian, I want to hats off to fucking Sebastian Stan's performance in here. He does. I commend you. He's. I think he kind of
he doesn't have a lot.
Very little Winter Soldier in the Winter Soldier.
That's the problem. That's a big problem with this movie. So I guess
what
we'll just
jump. Does get to do is.
So like, do you want to do your plot summary so then we can just range around?
So we can just just bang this out. I'm gonna sound a little, if not quite bitter. I
hurt myself today.
As we all know, kind of Captain America was my road into the MCU fandom, and I was like really into it for quite a while. Hell, I even presented a like paper on fucking Agent Carter at the same conference that I presented at, like this at the same time, like in the same room. Another girl presented her research paper that was basically on a Stucky fan fiction and looking into like queer subculture in 20s and 30s Brooklyn, New York.
I gotta be honest, like Stucky sounds like a brand of jam.
Yeah, it's kind of, but it's the ship name. It's the ship
I know
name. You're gonna have to get used to
sounds
me
like
saying
a brand
it
of
a lot. That's gonna be a fun conversation, but let's if for those who aren't familiar with this movie or don't want to watch it, good. Don't. So I'll just tell you what happens in it. All right.
3, 2, 1, go.
Captain America, the Winter Soldier, or the movie that launched a couple 100,000 AO3 fics, is generally regarded as one of the best entries in the MCU. Some even argue it's a good conspiracy thriller that can stand toe-to-toe with films like The Parallax View and 3 Days of the Condor. If you had asked my dumbass in 2015, I definitely would have agreed despite not seeing either of those movies until a week ago. Thankfully, I've put on my They Live glasses and I can finally see the noxious truth residing underneath the surface of a poor algorithmic facsimile. Like Iron Man, Winter Soldier is a politically shallow blockbuster that gestures towards being more progressive than it actually is. Not only that, it postures itself as real cinema for grown-ups when it's actually Kevin Feige's greatest grift. In the house style that the Russo brothers built, man out of time Steve Rodgers has his morals and worldview tested when he discovers that the quasi-covert multinational law enforcement agency he's been working for has a Nazi problem. Not even S.H.I.E.L.D. was safe from Operation Paperclip, and now the Hydra deep state that's grown within the superhero World Police Agency is going to use CGI helicarriers to remotely kill anyone deemed subversive to the algorithm. Worse still, his beloved platonic life partner Bucky Barnes has returned from the grave as the Winter Soldier, a secret Soviet assassin and Hydra's brainwashed asset with a metal arm and Gerard Way eye makeup. Joined by reformed KGB lady spy Black Widow and yet another new hairdo, and his new black friend Anthony Mackie, it's up to Captain America to save the institutions that invited Nazi collaborators into their ranks and stop a government agency from using people's personal data to drone them to death. If you remember this movie being good, then it's probably because you read a homoerotic subtext between Captain America and the Winter Soldier to distract yourself from all the horribly composited green screen and blindless faith in the inherent integrity of our political institutions. You may even consider yourself a leftist who headcanons Steve Rodgers as a bisexual New Deal socialist who will save us from Peter Thiel-funded podcasts. As a reformed Marvel fan, I'm here to tell you that you've been duped by the directors of You, Me, and Dupree. Captain America the Winter Soldier is the true death knell of cinema, and we are here to warn you before Feige and company turn you into brainwashed assets too. Mic drop. Mic drop.
Well done. The real Hydra is Disney, which is also S.H.I.E.L.D., and they're the same thing, and there's no difference. And that's like, because the plot of this movie is really about Hydra infiltrated S.H.I.E.L.D. and the government, and they're responsible for causing all the terrorism to destabilize things so that they can justify taking more power, and they're Nazis, and well, they're not quite Nazis. They kind of avoid it being like a race thing. It's just sort of like a vaguely totalitarian.
They never bring up the question of race.
It's just a vaguely totalitarian, will assert order through authority kind of thing, which is like not weird politically. Like if you actually like set aside like Robert Redford kind of villain monologuing, it's like that's the exact shit politicians say all the time, even liberal ones, especially maybe liberal ones. But that's like one of my big beefs with this movie. And this is like I say, like, we talk about the politics of these things for what they kind of reflect, but it's like good politics doesn't make a good movie, but a movie that is trying explicitly to be political, then it becomes like a criteria for actually evaluating the movie as art and entertainment. And the conspiracy in this is, well, one, it's boring and it's stupid. There's not a lot of twists and turns. You just kind of get the whole thing explained to you by a computer like halfway through the movie.
Well, and here's the thing, because this also reveals, because by this time their Marvel Studios already had a couple of TV shows that were airing. Agent Carter was one of them, and it was canceled, I think, it was canceled officially canceled in 2016. I think it was still airing at the time this movie was on, or had just
that went for a while. I thought it was only like 1 or 2 seasons.
It only had 2 seasons, but the other show, it was Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and I think Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. like set up most of the plot points for like this to happen, like the whole thing with the fucking CGI boat at the beginning mission, like that was all set up by Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So it's like Marvel is starting to like deliberately be like, if you want to get this part, you gotta watch the TV show. The thing is, though,
you don't actually
a marketing thing
need the TV show to understand what's happening in the movie at all.
Right.
It's just that thing where everything ties together, but also every piece can be consumed individually for all the people that won't. And it also means you get that like, I'm sure like the stuff that ultimately happens in this movie and how everything concludes doesn't match tonally or pacing wise or the buildup of what's in the show. I imagine the show being a show, it's like a very slow unveiling kind of the whole thing.
No, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. aired on ABC.
I mean, I'm not saying it was good. I'm just saying
this is a prestige television.
I'm just saying when a movie made by a bunch. No, I'm not saying it was good or anything. I'm just saying when a movie made by a bunch of other totally different people comes in to conclude a plot line started in a TV show that's like made way over here by this other group of people, the actual elements probably don't, like if I was to watch the show, I would guess that they don't actually mesh very well. And because we're not doing the shows, I think, generally for this. Maybe
God no.
Maybe I mean, I'm just saying theoretically, maybe 1 or 2 of the like really short ones. We might have to do WandaVision, maybe, because that was like the really big one, and that tied directly into one of the movies. Big one. That one seemed way bigger than the other ones, other than
I mean, I remember Jessica Jones, like at least the first season. Like I will give Jessica Jones credit. Like David Tennant's character in that is like the scariest villain I think in
Jessica Jones was
like comic book villain or
decent,
depiction of it than like that I've like seen. I maybe not ever, but like he's fucking scary as shit. But speaking of television, like we
I need to get to my point. I got derailed. Okay,
because then I want to talk about why this movie looks like crap.
So the conspiracy is boring. It's just in content and in execution, and it's also politically. It's like, well, all the problems came from Nazis infiltrating otherwise good institutions and government. And the reason we should be careful about giving them maybe too much power, but we gotta give them some power, is in case someone bad gets in and takes over it. But it's the real world is that, like, if Shield, even though Shield's also kind of XCOM, where it's like international, it's also basically the CIA and the NSA and stuff, and
like,
and the whole thing, like the real like history, and you don't have to look too far to find it, is the Nazis didn't infiltrate the CIA. The CIA co-opted the Nazis and subordinated the Nazis to the CIA's agenda of a system of global liberal capitalism. When I say liberal, I don't mean lowercase l, nice liberal. I mean capital sign. L.
Your like mom's friend who's like really into crystals.
No, I mean capital L liberal, which means we will execute. We will kill 10,000 people in a coup to make sure that a dictator comes in and like allows our corporations to do business. And that's just kind of really frustrating. Is and you see this with a lot of these kinds of stories. Is we need to be a little skeptical of power, but when there is a problem, it's some exogenous force. It's something coming in from the outside to corrupt or pollute it, and it's never just built in and homegrown. Which it is. That's the thing. It is. So that's my basic political problem with the movie in a nutshell. It mirrors what we've had to say about the Iron Man movies, which also kind of brushed up to the sort of parallel gestural critiques at the arms industry and the war on terror and so on. I'm sure it'll be the same thing with Captain America: Civil War.
I think that you said you like had to turn that off like halfway through. You just couldn't.
Yeah, but I wasn't because I was mad at it for its dumb politics. It's because I got high to watch it and I was so bored.
Oh.
I was bored and I was confused, and every character's motivation seemed really, really stupid and contrived, and the action really sucked, and so I just turned it off. I was just like, I am not enjoying this even a little tiny bit, even at the base level that you might like enjoy Iron Man 3 or the first Captain America movie or something.
Yeah, no, just to also piggyback on that statement, like when you strip everything away, like in just basic what this movie does politically is what it is saying is that, like, you know, these institutions that America, you know, like Captain America himself, like these are institutions that are inherently good, but you know, they just grew they've just been corrupted. We need to cut the cancer out. We need like this. It's a reformist, like #resistance view of like fighting against the like internal like deficiencies people see in democracy, and like, oh, it's fascism. Like, we gotta get rid of the fascism without realizing, baby, no, it's been there since the very beginning.
It's
built into the foundation, baby. It's in the floor plans. It's you don't have capitalism without that sort of like other, you don't like capitalism and fascism go hand in
hand. Yeah, it'll always like emerge out of it, right? It'll always be at
least at the very least a form of authoritarianism, if not fascism.
Well, I'd say in a broad sense, like you can say like fascism is sort of like capitalism's antibodies. Its immune system. It flares up when it enters a crisis, and the crisis can't be resolved through the normal institutions of power. So something new comes along to shake things up until it can kind of unjam itself. And that doesn't mean
but this
like
movie, like,
and here it's like, oh no, the fascism came from outside and was like the alien.
It was like an alien invasion as opposed to...
No, like literally like the alien from Alien, where it's like
Yeah,
it was put in us and it popped out of our chest. Surprise! It's like,
and as if like we weren't like fertile or deliberately laying fertile ground and just like handing out invitations to
that too. But I just mean
Werner von Braun and like.
I mean, America had plenty of its own
Nazi Holocaust scientists
homegrown fascism.
Like
if in a modern sense, you could argue like American fascism starts with the reactionary movement against Reconstruction, way before there's Nazis.
Absolutely.
In a very general, if we're going to use a broad definition of fascism or proto-fascism in America, at least, and
I'm pretty sure the Nazis looked to American like slavery and the American slave system as like part of the brainstorming sessions behind the fucking Third Reich and the final fucking solution.
And America's proud, well, I mean, much of the developed world's proud history of like eugenics through the first half of the 20th century.
Yep.
And
we hate America.
The point is that whole, well, we just get the bad individuals out and like tweak a couple things and be vigilant. That doesn't work. The system, the system creates the bad people to put into power to keep the system operating. It makes the good people that go into bad people to keep the system operating, and that is the thing that any of these big, vaguely liberal movies cannot bring themselves to say or depict. Not even because of some like, the military industrial, the army guys who rubber stamp when we want to use a helicopter said we can't, or the government said we can't, or it's. I don't think it's even in the minds of any of the people that works on these movies in the first place to think of it that way, because it is outside the prevailing ideology. It just exists in null space. Like, you have to clip through the floor of regular thought and ideas and narratives of American society into the blue hell where your character model just flails forever to actually even get to thinking about it that way, which isn't to self-aggrandize us. It's just the further in you go, the further up the ladder you go, the more you're going to tend to just accept your thought world as it is, because it's working for you. So it's not even like the people that made this are bad or secretly fascist or work for the CIA, although some of that stuff does happen. It's just they can't even think that
as good at like #resistance libs.
Yeah, and if they had the whatever it is that like allows you to break through that shell and have that different perspective, that more systemic in a real literal sense critique, you're a lot less likely to be allowed to write these kinds of movies.
Yeah. And I think the same thing also applies to like we'll get to this later, of course, because it is Pride Month, so we got a whole, of course, we timed this perfectly so we would talk about the quintessential gay entry in the MCU. I'm joking, of course.
The gay entry into Captain America's anus by the Winter Soldier.
But like, it wasn't like Kevin Feige and like all the Marvel Studios executives and board of directors and whatnot were sitting around a table being like, all right, for this Captain America movie, we're gonna fucking queer bait. Like that's not a thing that happened.
We're going to put queerness on a little hook and throw it out into the ocean.
Yeah, it's more in terms of like just like a circa, like but they certainly also weren't like gonna turn their nose up at marketing or like building or fueling a like discernible fan base that was like already growing by this point, that was like vocal and very engaged in fandom. Like that's your audience, so throw them some scraps. So I
think we should establish just like a foundation for this whole concept, because I don't know how familiar it will be to everyone listening. So
we'll get to that later, but it's because This is gonna be fun. I get to kind of show you the ropes or introduce you to some of the key quintessential
the ropes
brain,
that Bucky
that...
is blasting all over Captain America's face.
Well, no, well, I mean, it's just funny because
I'm just gonna keep saying shit like that. I'm sorry, I can't help it.
This is where it's very clear that me and Stu kind of like came of age on different kind of corners of the internet, or kind of like came from it. Like
this is where
I come from the Tumblr side of the internet, so I saw like the development of the Steve and Bucky fandom like just take off. Like it was like fucking super hulock, or like one of those stereotypical like Tumblr fangirl things. Like it was fucking huge, and it bled into everything. So it's just been funny like having to sort of explain to you like, oh, it's, you know, why like women especially are really into and emotionally invested in like fictional men fucking each other and desiring and longing each other.
Women have a divot in their skull.
Yeah, women have a... See, it's the wife... It's what waifus are to, like, guys. Like, women have their gay ass ships.
Except with guys, much. You just like ship the waifu with yourself.
Yeah. But to go back to the thing I was saying earlier about why this movie looks terrible, it's because the Russos, like, are TV guys, or they really had their first success in television. They did do a couple movies, like I think their first movie was produced by Steven Soderbergh, who was the one who called up Kevin Feige and was like, "Hey, look, these two Property Brother guys, they putting in a good word for him." So we kind of had Steven Soderbergh to blame for the Russos in a way. I haven't seen a movie of his I've really liked, so
we also have him to blame for I always want to call her Carla Gugino, but that's a totally different actress.
The mom from Spy Kids?
I always want to call her that, but it's not her name. It's something else. But it's the one who came out of MMA, who was in The Mandalorian until she got...
that lady.
She got...
Gina Carrero?
Yeah. Her first big movie was a Soderbergh movie called Havoc. Or Haywire.
Okay,
Haywire.
Yeah, all right. Yeah.
Which has some kind of cool fight scenes in it, but also a movie that has like a conspiracy plot that just kind of flops around and doesn't really go anywhere, and it ends. But it has some cool fight scenes, at least.
So the reason the Russo brothers like basically got picked to direct this, like, poor fucking Joe Johnston. Like, Joe Johnston makes like arguably the best of the MCU movies thus far. Like, and they're just like, no, they just say, no, he's a real director. We gotta, Kevin Feige and friends, we need someone who's actually gonna like listen to us.
There's almost
like,
something sadistic
mandate these certain things
about
in the movie.
The way they hire. I mean, not the Russo brothers. I mean, I've got nothing against them. I'm sure they would be really well suited to certain kinds of movies.
Well, they were just doing fucking television before. Although they did direct like the pilot episode of Arrested Development. So
a lot of Arrested Development, a lot of
they
Community, which is why Abed is in this movie for 5 seconds.
I think it was based on a couple Community episodes they had directed.
Because Community would do these like various. Like a lot of shows, but like Dan Harmon really, I think, leaned on this a lot, which was just an episode that's just a pastiche of a type of movie or a genre or something. And in particular, they had ones where it's like, oh, the gang goes paintball fighting, and it gets really over the top intense, and we do it like it's this or that style of action movie. And I think they did those competently enough. They're like, well, here, make a real movie of this type. But it's like, it's one thing when you're doing it as a joke on a TV show where you can have it like, where you can rely on a lot of like kind of mid digital effects. It doesn't matter as much because you're doing jokes for a TV show. Ultimately, it can look, it doesn't have to really impress you aesthetically.
Right.
And you see the limitations of that, where they're just kind of doing pastiches of styles of movie here. Where, I mean, the action's fine. It's okay. It's not like terrible, but it's like really, again, like you're just not, and like good at, like this is one I think about a lot. Good action. It's hard to quantify what really makes a good action sequence, right? Like it's because it's a lot of little things that make kind of okay watching it.
One of the things I was thinking about was like, I think the stunt choreography, like the fight choreography in this movie, is good.
Yes,
the problem
I'd say that.
There's way too much. They're over edited.
Way over, because they're doing the Bourne shit.
Yeah, and like the Russos are just like allergic to single like long takes. There's one part there's a part in 3 Days of Condor where Robert Redford's fighting this guy, and it's mostly just like a wide shot, like, you know, you're seeing them complete like certain moves, and it's not constantly cutting between like different
it's
cameras.
Not snapping all these close-ups to rely on pacing to compensate for
it feels like
things.
You're watching an actual fight.
Yeah,
like you're standing in one location, like long shots and long takes, and just to have so much, like it offers a much more sort of or at least it allows fight choreography, I think, to really impress. That you got to be like, you know, this isn't just like all cobbled together and
yeah. But I think,
and I'm not claiming to be a fight choreography expert.
Well, it is.
At all.
The thing
is remember
that
people really laud this movie for its fight
harder.
Choreography.
It's harder to longer takes where you see everything are harder to do because everything needs to fit together and you need to get it done in one good one. Nothing can it's like live music versus recording into GarageBand, where you can just like redo any little piece separately. And that's why they do it. I mean, part of it is it became just kind of after the Bourne movies, it just kind of became like a style, like handheld, lots of quick cuts. It makes it makes everything feel really exciting and quick, and audiences are accustomed to that, and they might think not doing that is more boring, but it's also makes it easier to do fight choreography because you can just get little snippets of it and stitch them together however you want. And it's a lot easier to hide like a stunt man or something. Like the best fight in this movie is when it's just like, you know, movies always have that where you're just like, you take out a bunch of mooks, then there's one particularly big, tough mook, and he has no personality or role in the movie. He's just a mook that's bigger and tougher than all the other mooks, so you can have a longer fight with him.
Can I just say really quick, when you say mooks, I always like
it's not a slur.
Like, he's not saying a racial slur, right? And I'm just like, oh no, he's just Canadian.
No, goon, mook, henchman,
it's the at least I think the American
and enemy NPC.
No, Stu's not racist. Everybody,
in video games they call them mini bosses.
Yeah.
There's just a guy who's not really that different from all the other guys you fought, but he's just like 3 times bigger. As tough for some reason, a little bit bigger. Yeah. And he's not like a real boss fight. And that fight's the best one in the movie because it's almost like if you're watching someone play Street Fighter or something. It does have the quick cuts in, but a lot of it's just this one shot in profile, panning or tracking back and forth as they go back and forth fighting. And it makes it with longer takes, and it makes it, even though it's just 2 guys brawling, it easily makes it the most.
Which fight scene are you
in like the
about?
hangar right at the beginning.
Oh, okay. Because I think the best fight scenes are the ones between Steve and Bucky.
Well, they're the more dramatically charged ones.
Yeah,
but I'm talking just in terms of technical execution.
Okay.
It's
because I think in terms of technical execution, again, over edited. Just too many quick cuts. Just not letting the fight choreography speak for itself in a way, because it's clearly very good fight choreography.
Yeah, and this is the one fight where you can really appreciate it. Where
Bucky's like has the knife and he's like that's actually Sebastian Sand. Like he learned for this movie how to like professionally handle a knife. Like they're doing those actual moves. Like most of the stunt choreography like Scarlett Johansson does is real, and it's just like a real shame that you just like we gotta
see
be the
little close-ups and snippets of it. Yeah. But it just like it really and I mean I can tell, as much as there's a lot of terrible green screen and like whole CGI sets in this movie, they did have like real cars smashing into each other and stuff.
Oh yeah, of course. That God, that was real.
At
real
least
cars explode,
and
that's good.
And that's like, again though, like the execution, you can't appreciate that it's even happening, and it's really frustrating. It's just kind of a stock action. It's like if you had like, sometimes video editors will just, or not really video, but like that, like your like home movie built into Windows or Apple thing will just be like, make a slideshow for me, and it'll auto do the Ken Burns effect and sync it to music. And it feels like this had like a plugin that's like action movie editing, and it just takes all the shots and does that. But that's the thing with all these movies, is even when they're potentially at their best or most interesting, they are required to be generic. They're required to be something that will not scare or confuse or alienate people. It's supposed to be the most familiar, comfortable, undemanding possible experience, because it's supposed to be everything for everybody. And that's the thing. Like this movie, it was like even the marketing, like it's all, the MCU does a conspiracy thriller, like the Parallax, and it's like barely. It's like they have their thing, and then they're just like, well, we want to get this audience, or we want to do this type of movie, so and
they got Robert Redford.
We'll just weave like 10% of whatever that thing is into the formula. It's like just the slightest bit, just the same gruel, but just like a little hint of paprika in one and a little hint of cinnamon in another. Just barely, just the slightest thing, and that's why we're doing this podcast. Is that as movies get eaten up by giant corporations, and as they get integrated into synergistic, mutually reinforcing mega franchises that try to just create a whole fictional landscape for you to just get sucked into and bounce around in, so that they can own your brain. Individual movies, let's see, because you see people online defending this. They go, well, it's like you can get a horror movie in the MCU, and you can get a conspiracy thriller in the MCU, and this type of movie, and a drama about having cancer in the MCU, and it's like, you can, but you're getting a diluted, watered down version of all those things by virtue of it having to fit into the MCU. Nothing can stand on its own and have just like the one set of things it tries to do well, thematically or on a technical level or level of execution. And that's why this represents this might be maybe
the death of fucking
turning
cinema.
point.
That's why
more than the original Avengers, which is just a big superhero movie where all your characters meet and fight a bad guy. This is kind of, as much as I think the phases are kind of like fake and made up for marketing purposes, like this is a turning point, I think, for this whole thing. And it worked. It tricked people into thinking it was a lot more than it was.
Yeah. No, I think let's dig a little bit more into this movie, because I saw this when it came out. I'll definitely post this multiple times on our social media. I took a mirror selfie in college in my little Captain America tank top that I got at New York Comic Con on my way to the movie theater, the Regal Cinema in Fenway. And I was so excited. I was like, Chris Evans, here I come. And I loved the movie when it came out.
How did you spell that?
What?
Here I come. How did you spell that?
Oh, fuck you.
Sorry, go on.
And I think maybe the last time I had watched this movie all the way through was like 2017 with my friend, and it was just like we were just like on the couch eating burritos and probably getting high, or whatever. But like this is like this movie. I remember it starts nice. I like the opening, very opening scene, the on your left scene. It's a fun like scene. It introduces Anthony Mackie's character pretty well, and I like Anthony Mackie. I think he brings like a nice energy to his role. He's fun. Like I would watch like a ton of behind the scenes, like mostly like bloopers from this movie, like throughout college, just as like a way to distract myself from being sad during finals. And like from the looks of it, like everyone had a lot of fun. Like Anthony Mackie seemed to have a lot of fun. So it's like, oh, he's well, here the more important thing is Anthony Mackie is running through an actual location in Washington, D.C. And then the second scene is, boom, CGI boat being taken over by Algerian pirates.
Yeah, they all had French accents, so until they specified where they were from, I wanted to say, oh, it's the FLQ.
Yeah, and suddenly this mission to rescue SHIELD agents that are on an Algerian boat is actually cover for Black Widow to download all of these secret SHIELD files that actually reveal, oops, all Nazis.
But they under like you need to go to a
Fury's
boat
command
to do that. Like it's all networked, but the only way you can get that information is on a boat. Also, like how it's like
about international waters, maybe
they get everything on a thumb drive, and it's like because it's like SHIELD, it has to be like a really sci-fi looking thumb drive, but like it's still just a USB drive, and it plugs into an obvious USB port, so there's no reason for it to look all science fiction-y. Like it could just be a SAN disk that you get for $20 at the store, but I don't know, that's not really that's just it's just those little things movies do that kind of make me laugh that aren't really legitimate critiques. But
I mean, there are like some goofy ass things, like the line about where Samuel L. Jackson, he's explaining and showing Steve Rodgers the helicarriers that he's like, oh, these are supposed to be our that's where our tax dollars are going to, people. They're funding fucking helicarrier death drones and Falcon wings for veterans.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing I will say, like,
but he says the helicarriers like can read a terrorist DNA.
They can read a terrorist DNA with satellites.
Like
I know what they're saying is they've probably got like a DNA database of terrorists, which is still like really that's kind of seems like something the government would try to do and it wouldn't work, but they'd spend $1 billion on it.
Oh yeah.
But you could also interpret it as there being like a terrorist gene that you can just find.
Yeah, it's your line should not invite that kind
he's got the Al Qaeda lobe, and we can see it from space. I mean, here's the thing: like,
he's got an IRA forehead.
I mean, here's the thing: like, actual aircraft carriers are just because, like, in any country that has like a decent like modern military can very easily blow up an aircraft carrier that isn't safe in American waters. Like, you could just drop missiles on them. You can kill them with submarine. Like, they've done war games. And our Navy, our really rinky-dink Navy, with our second-hand British diesel submarines that we took out of mothballs and ended up spending way too much money, like, fixing and making them, like, work with our electrical system. Like, they've killed aircraft carriers in mock war games. Aircraft carriers are really vulnerable. All they're good for is bullying poor countries, is so that you can just sail over to them and hit them with F-18 bombers and cruise missiles and like deck launched drones. So there is kind of something to that, but it's also like as like a conspiracy, like Operation Phoenix assassination program thing. The fact that it concludes with like, well, we've got 3 big sky boats with a bunch of guns on them, and they're going to hover over Washington, D.C. and just precisely shoot millions of people with their guns, with their like 3-inch deck guns.
And
3-inch diameter.
One of them deemed as subversive is the president of the United States, as well as numerous people who work at the Pentagon and Tony Stark. Wait, what?
So these are all good guys doing God's work.
Yeah, so that's how you know they're good. They're good people.
I mean, honestly, if you did just like, I mean, I'm like there'd be like secretaries and janitors and stuff, but it would make the world a better place. It would be like, if you can justify bombing anywhere else, where there's always going to be civilian casualties, then I'm not saying we will. I'm just saying if hypothetically somebody totally unrelated to us that had the ability and wherewithal to, like crash, like on 9/11, like crashing the plane into the was like, I mean, you killed the people on the plane, which is fucked up, but like blowing up is fine. That's okay. You're allowed. You're allowed to do that. I think that's like if you blew up the, you are the righteous man. Which is a little thing we'll get to at the end.
As an American, I've said nothing about the to any government officials listening. Stu is Canadian, so you can't blame him or me. I don't control his narrative.
And outside your jurisdiction, which I'm sure matters a lot to the CIA.
Okay. But like what on rewatch, especially like that scene where Nick Fury's explaining to Steve like the purpose, and like Steve's putting up the first, like Steve's the one who plants like the doubt in Fury's mind to be like, hey, look into this further, like, which is kind of incredible to believe it, like, just it took that long for him to like start noticing, this place I've worked for my entire fucking life seems to have a bit of
for
a
all Nick
issue.
Fury is supposed to be like really cool and clever. This like you kind of have to
let this go
he's an
right
idiot.
by him.
Like Nick Fury's supposed to be the realist, doesn't trust anybody, accounts for every possibility. But then this movie also just he needs to be a complete idiot that like can't see what's like, right in front of him.
What I think is just as funny is like Steve's response to this whole program. He says, yeah, we compromised, sometimes in a way that made us not sleep so well, but we did it so that people could be free. And I'm just thinking like,
he's talking about firebombing Dresden, right?
Steve, baby, I know you were in like World War II for like 4 years, but like surely you knew they were gonna drop the bomb on Japan, or like at least you've probably learned that by now.
No,
it's got to be.
He would have learned that
the
now.
Nuclear
but
bomb's probably in that little book.
Nobody, he learned that now, but nobody knew about the A bomb. Like nobody,
Not
no
even
regular
Captain America. You don't think they would have?
No. They were like they really did keep the A bomb very secret until they used it. That was I mean, didn't keep it secret from like the Soviets, but like from regular people. Presumably,
Steve has learned about the atomic bomb in the interim between being unfrozen and when this movie starts. So, still, his response is like, in reality, he should have been like, yeah, no, my generation fucked it up for everyone. We dropped a bomb on Japan. Like, but no, because of course, and I do still really like Steve Rodgers as a character, but I think this movie also does a lot of things with him that really just make him feel like different and like less connected to his like comic book roots. Like there's no allusion to Steve being an artist, which I liked that they threw into the first Avenger. And I realized that when they cut to that really funny shot that shows all the books on his bookshelf
when he's breaking in,
like he's going back into he's breaking into his own apartment because Nick Fury's hiding out there, and there's just right next to each other or on top of each other is a book by Obama and then a book by Poppy Bush.
Yeah, just like presidents' autobiographies and a couple World War II histories.
I'm thinking, where are the art books? Where are the art books? Steve, you went to art school. Steve, you're an artist. Where are the art? And also the fact that, like, because in Avengers, at least, like, Steve's kind of still dressing like an old man. Like, he likes to wear these, nice slacks and like tight fitting, nice like crisp white shirts. But come like this movie, civilian Steve Rodgers just dresses like regular Chris Evans. So he just dresses like a guy from Boston in like Under Armour and like a baseball cap.
Yeah, the Under Armour product placement in this.
Yeah, there's the mall they go into, which is not like deliberate product placement. It's more of like, yeah, but they do go into an Apple store. So that's
there's he hides that USB drive in a vending machine, which is like it's like, again, how it's like
he got that vending machine guy to, like, he probably slipped him a couple $1 bills. He like, hey, dude, can you like put this in there for me?
I feel like he must have just waited till his back was turned and used his like really fast reflexes to tuck it in there. But it's also like that's
he would have gotten stuck. He would have gotten stuck in the vending machine. But you saw those guns when he was wearing his wife beater.
Well, he ricocheted in there, because the way he tosses it, just like ping ping, and it just goes right into the slot. But it's just funny because I was just watching it. I was like, someone could just easily buy all the bubble gum in front of it, and accidentally buy someone will come along and see it, and it's like, oh, I'll pay $1.75, whatever the hell that is. But it was like that vending machine shot of it in there was just like, oh, there's a ton of free product placement. I guess that's why you'd hide it in there instead of up underneath a drop ceiling tile or something. But
there are a lot of, like, I know you kind of raised your eyebrow at the Smithsonian Captain America exhibit. Which I don't mind, because theoretically, like,
okay, so it was an exhibit.
If they fucking unearthed a guy from the ice from the 1940s.
Okay, so it was an exhibit at the Smithsonian. Okay, I missed that. I thought there was just a Captain America museum, like that was like a permanent thing.
No, it was like an installation.
Okay, that's a bit easier to.
But do you think I thought that was cute? That's a cute scene.
It is. It really just serves for exposition in case you didn't see the first one too. Like, here's his love interest. Here's his dead friend. Here's his pals. Here's Neil McDonough.
Which love interest? Because they say that, and
here's his love interest. Say the line.
I wrote this down. Because there's a little like section dedicated to Bucky, who of course everyone's reasonably assumed that he died after falling off of a fucking train in Russia, like 500 feet off a mountain. So it's like a honorary memorial to him, and there's a voiceover. Definitely some actor's voice, that probably someone famous doing that voiceover near, like,
the museum, but the museum
there's
thing.
The line that Steve and Bucky, they were inseparable on both like schoolyard and battlefield, so really like hammering home just the importance of their relationship. And I haven't read too much of the Captain America comics, but I have read and like informed myself enough about like the like history of Captain America and like its evolving storyline, to know that like in the original comics, Bucky was just Captain America's like teenage, like younger sidekick.
He's like his Robin.
Movies. Yeah, it's like his Robin. It was the movie. It was First Avenger that took Bucky and was like, okay, we're not gonna do this fucking teenage Robin sidekick shit. That's weird. Not gonna work. And that's
it's just a thing you did in comic books in olden days because they were aimed at kids.
so and Joe Johnston and the screenwriters, rightfully, I think, in our opinion, we're just gonna make Bucky like his age, childhood friend,
his
and
pal, the guy he wanted to be before he got his super soldier.
Yeah, but here's the thing: slash shippers love. It's that little friends to enemies to lovers. And like this, like the whole like
that is like the swamp water of ships, isn't it? It's like every flavor in one cup.
It's catnip. It's catnip. Like Bucky and Steve's relationship like has such fertile soil for people to develop a queer reading out of, and in this movie especially, because, and this will lead into my next point, by this point Peggy Carter is very, very, very fucking old. She would be in her 90s.
She's got the old age. You know it because the old age CG
looks terrible.
It's awful. It's really it really does look like a face app filter.
She looks way too pretty. She looks like she looks gorgeous for like a woman who's supposed to be 90 and presumably have her like teeth rotting out, and she's got like fucking dementia, yet her hair's like perfectly coiffed, which I like. That's why I love Suspiria 2018 so much, is because they were like, we're doing fucking old age makeup. We're putting Tilda Swinton and we're not just making Tilda Swinton into like a old ass dude. We're making her into like a grotesque, tumorous fat witch. And Russos are just like, no, that's going to cost us money because our like special makeup effects artists are unionized, presumably.
Yeah, this is something I want to attribute to a YouTuber. He talks about movies and film editing, and he's got a couple of good videos lately on kind of like the economics of Marvel and streaming, named Caleb Gammon. And he mentioned something in a video. I talked to him a bit about it on Twitter, and I always was like, why do these movies cost so much and look so shitty? Why is everything CGI all the time? Because we talked about before, like RoboCop cost like, adjusted for inflation, RoboCop costs like $30 million and looks great and has a lot of costumes and on-set photography and everything. And it's CGI artists are, well, one, half these budgets goes to the stars, because we talk about that, and the casting carries these movies, and they know it. Once an actor hits, and people are attached to them, they will throw buckets of money at them. And then the other half is...
I would not like this movie at all if Chris Evans and Sebastian Stan weren't in it.
Yeah.
And they weren't, like, equally hot as shit on screen.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. Marvel knew what they were doing, casting two really fucking hot guys as, like, the two leads. Like, they really... Like, that's all you really fucking need.
And that's another reason.
Hot guys with a like childhood relationship.
I was gonna say, it's like this is how this isn't like a 70s movie, because 70s movies were full of like schlubby guys who are like 40 years old but look 70. But I realized, like, no, 3 Days of the Condors, Robert Redford in the 70s, really hot.
Okay, Redford though, I like literally texted my dad and I was like, Robert Redford was so hot.
And Warren Beatty in Parallax View also, like, he looks like the guy from The Doors. Like, he's looking very even as a guy who normally doesn't even notice when men are attractive. I was like, oh damn, he was a good looking guy.
I think it's kind of funny that like Steve in the first movie and like in First Avenger and Avengers looks more like just like comparatively looks more akin to Robert Redford's character in 3 Days of the Condor than like Captain America in this movie would look like in the movie it's clearly trying to rip off. They gave his... That's another thing I always notice. I was like, oh, they cut Chris Evans' hair a little shorter so he doesn't have that like sort of vintage like 40s.
Yeah,
like,
they made him look like just he's like totally modern guy now, and I think that sucks a little bit out of the fun out of it.
Yeah, no, on rewatch definitely like that. The Russos really knocked all of the pulp out of Captain America.
Well, I think they were so...
the thing that's really good about it, or at least that really made it like distinctive within the MCU.
I think they were kind of like, they kind of were just focused on like, what is he? Well, he's a guy who like he's a soldier from World War II dropped in modern time. And that was like all they really knew what to do with. So like the artist thing is kind of gone. They kind of simplified him a bit.
Yeah, wasted.
And I mean, yeah, like, and I mean, again, like when we talk about like what you could do to make these movies better, that's like in a parallel universe where they were real movies and were allowed to be real movies. Because like, I mean, and like we talked about, we keep bringing out those helicarriers. That was apparently Kevin Feige's like idea was, I want to get rid of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah, that was his demand.
And those
I want were his two demands for this movie.
End it with these 3 big helicarriers. So like, instead of any kind of like clever plot, it's like, oh, just 3 big Death Stars for them to blow up by going up into them and putting computer chips in their big HAL 9000 computer chip bays. Like, which I mean, like I get it's kind of stupid to complain about that stuff not making sense, but it's like it feels so like just archaic conceptually.
Yeah.
And it's like, but again, it's like it's a guy who's either really smooth brained or just is anticipating a smooth brained audience thinking, well, we need just something big and obvious, which is just a big ship with a bunch of guns on it. And that's our assassination program. Like what if it was actually drones? What if it was like a whole fleet of drones, and you had like a command center you had to attack, and like one helicarrier, one new helicarrier that has a fleet of drones on it, and you fight on the helicarrier, yeah. Except to disable the drones before they kill everybody. Like that would be more thematic and interesting. But like, again, like I think we talked before, like the Bucky Captain America tension is the most interesting part of the movie, and it's not really in the movie.
Yeah.
Until the end. It's like the ending, suddenly it becomes the most important thing.
Too much of this movie is wasted on like badly green screen composited shots and like CGI. Like, and this is the kind of like, I was thinking the whole time, like, God, I hate these helicarriers. How much cooler would these, or like nicer to look at would these would be if they were like fucking like Star Wars era like miniatures, or
what if there were miniatures and like, sets that weren't just gray corridors?
What if they were sets? What if they were sets? Like for a moment I thought like, I think I'm not even sure if the bunker they find where Zola has uploaded his entire fucking consciousness to a computer. Because at first I was like, oh, it's a real set, yay, finally. And then I realized, oh, like maybe like a 20-foot radius of the areas, like an actual set, and everything else is clearly like a green screen. Like look up production photos and like and this goes for like most of these Marvel movies, you're just seeing actors being shot in front of a green screen, with some props here and there, or but it's mostly in front of a green screen. Like the era of matte backdrops is fucking gone.
Oh fuck, my train of thought completely derailed. Anyway, the reason everything's CGI and green screen now is, and again, I want to attribute this to Caleb Gammon for making and it feels like one of those things I like should have been like, it makes perfect sense.
I mean, you
can get, especially when you're doing these multi-franchise things, you need these actors to be in a bunch of different things, and they're also off doing real movies, or what's left of them. It makes it really easy to get the actors in and out whenever you need them cheap, like as few days as possible, and work around their schedules. And because CGI workers, digital effects workers are not, have no kind of union representation or anything, and they're all over the world. You can just get them really cheap. If they had like equivalent labor protections, wages, benefits to like guys who build sets and make props, CGI would be more expensive than doing those things, and it would probably be used in more interesting, thoughtful ways instead of just throwing everything out there, right?
Yeah. You want to know what's really funny, because I didn't get to read through all of the IMDb trivia page, but there were a couple gems, and by gems I mean just like straight out fucking lies. One of them was that like this movie in particular really minimized the use of visual effects as much as possible. And like Anthony Mackie said that the Russos were like, you know, so dedicated to shooting in live action that they were like wanting to do as little CGI as possible, and that's why the movie looks good. And I just like I posted it on my Twitter. There's that one shot where Steve, Natasha, and fucking Sam they fall out of like that SUV onto that car door, and it, oh my god, it looks terrible. It looks terrible. Like, it looks like the green screening effect is, I'm saying this a lot, but it's like comedically bad. It's comedically bad.
It
like
just,
there's
yeah.
Or like seeing Robert Redford stand in front of that fake ass window, and it's just
like you could just shot, shoot like in that an one office.
Shot people were showing. Yeah. It's like that
and
one
get
shot
some nice like golden hour lighting
from
but
the
no.
new Spider-Man movie of like the kid, he's like, I think it's the Flash character, he's like standing on a street corner, and it's like he's clearly just standing in a green screen, and that's like you can't even fucking shoot on a street corner anymore, guys, come on.
It makes you wonder, like, if this is what it looks like when they're committed to filming in live action, what would this look like otherwise? But yeah, like that's the thing. They keep spending more and more money on these movies, but they keep getting cheaper in terms of how they're actually produced. And that's kind of everything. Everything is more expensive on the bill, but cheaper and shoddier in execution as it goes. Everything's kind of gilded and gaudy and made of paper mache and popsicle sticks on the inside.
I mean, and this is like this like I'm not entirely surprised that this movie has been as successful and as acclaimed as it's become, because there are some things it does like well, and all of them have to do with just like
the cast,
characters, and like for example, Chris Evans and Scarlett Johansson, they have great chemistry together. That's because they've worked on like numerous, like fucking 5 films or something before shooting this movie. Like they knew each other.
Well, I mean, I guess other
like,
Avengers,
like,
and
they were in the Nanny Diaries. They were in the Nanny Diaries together. Perfect Score. I want to say there was another one, but they did at least like 2 movies together before they got involved with the MCU.
Okay, that would explain, because I thought like, yeah, they genuinely seem like friends, and it was kind of like, that's...
I think they wrote their own like dialogue, maybe, or at least ad-libbed their interactions together, which is great. Like they clearly have a good working relationship.
I think that's the thing. If there's anything,
clearly like acting together, they're good together.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking like there could be, like, this is one of the things you could lean on more in other movies, was this, like, they work pretty good together.
Oh, what?
And they're also like
potential love interest.
Don't they pair her up with Hawkeye?
No,
Hulk?
She gets paired up. No, Hawkeye is married. She gets paired up with the Hulk in the next movie.
Oh, right. No, they like hint at something between her and Hawkeye kind of in the first one, and then it gets dropped. Yeah, and then he's got a family, and
they kind of like retcon that with the Hulk romance, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although, I mean, that's not such
but like,
I guess on paper, a bad idea. We'll get to it.
But like, yeah, Natasha's got her own shit to deal with, and I'm thankful like this movie is not dumb enough to try to pair those two off romantically.
No, they're just fun as
the
kind of
the canonical romantic interest, according to this movie, would be Sharon Carter, the blonde CIA lady who is actually, and they kind of reveal this, that they say this at the very end, she is Peggy Carter's niece, or great niece. And she, in the comics, it's Sharon Carter, not Peggy Carter, who is Captain America's like main love interest. Like, and she's known as like Agent 13. And so like when they were announcing the casting for this movie, like they were talking about like the actress who plays Sharon, her name's Emily Van Camp. She was in a ABC series called Revenge, which is probably why she got this role, because it was like one of those sort of roles that like a very action based kind of show, which is kind of ironic because she does almost like
she's barely. I forgot she was in this movie.
She's like barely
she's just
in it.
like not there. She doesn't need to be there. You could cut her entire.
When they were like announcing the casting and like production of this movie, like they were like, okay, Emily Van Camp has been cast as like the main female lead or like the love interest. Like that was how they were describing her character. And then this movie comes out and she's like in it for like 5 minutes.
She's so inconsequential in this movie.
Oh, and it's gonna get even funnier in Civil War.
I guess I'll have to actually watch that and when we get to it.
Oh, they do a no. They do a bad thing, and they the Russos are gonna try to pretend that we forgot about it come Endgame. No, we didn't.
Oh, I guess we'll see what that is when we get to it. But I think, like, this is my transition into, we're gonna talk about shipping now, Stu. We're gonna talk about shipping. But like it's the reason this movie like just developed such a rabid like shipping fan base, or became such a like boon to slash fiction. And I realized this upon rewatch just how much like dialogue in this movie is dedicated to alluding to like Steve needs to get laid. Steve is not getting pussy. Steve is not living his best sexual life. He's not dating anyone. He's really like, backed up. Do you think?
What about like Sharon, Sally?
So it's just a classic so and so in accounting thing.
Yeah, Steve. Well, at least we learned that Steve's not really ready for girls with lip rings. So at least I don't have one. So
is he a virgin? I think we talked about this with the last movie. Like, I don't know if he's ever fucked.
That's you don't even know the sort of debate you're bringing up. That is a hotly debated topic in fandom, if not like the like it's like one of those like things that people see like, I'm gonna write a fan fiction where this is like the central,
where this 30-year-old man loses his virginity.
Yeah, but he's hot though.
He is, yeah.
I mean, well, it does like, I mean, who's gonna? I mean, I don't know if Steve, like, as his asthmatic, like, 90-pound self could have fucked. I think he might have, like, broken his dick or something. But
just like, suffocating, after as you nut.
in the absence of like an actual like heterosexual, plausible like. Actually, no. In the absence of a well-written, like, heterosexual, like, love interest or plotline, like, the emotional integrity of Steve's character and his thorough line goes through Bucky, his childhood friend. And they basically, there's like, that line at the end, the line that brings Bucky somewhat back to his senses is, I'm with you to the end of the line. And when people read into that line and interpret it as a form of saying I love you, like, they're not crazy.
No,
like,
I mean,
they're not pulling this out of nowhere.
It is a form of saying I love you. It's just I find with a lot of shipping, because I've been like exposed to it tangentially. I've got like other friends who are like they're like really into like the Star Wars Reylo thing and stuff. And
oh God, okay, yeah.
I think, and I've noticed a lot of it, whether it's even it's probably even more so if it's queer, but like even in general, is there's a lot of taking something that is like fundamentally unsatisfactory, or demure or thin in the text and extrapolating a lot out of it and creating like it's like a better movie exists in your head than is the one you're actually watching.
Absolutely.
Which I like you know, and is like kind of how and the MCU I think just kind of relies on like they're like the shipping like I like they're really self-aware of like the shipping stuff, the fandom stuff in particular. Now they really know how to exploit and manipulate that. But in general, that's what these movies have kind of been doing since the beginning, is like giving you just enough provocation, almost like when something primes you to see an optical illusion or something. Jesus and like when you see Jesus in a piece of toast, to see a better movie than is actually there. And like you see that now with all the thing, like with this movie, like the hype is about, oh, there's so much live action and there's this conspiracy thriller thing. It's all about conditioning you to see something that's, if not there, like barely there. And I don't know if they were doing that with the queer stuff. I suspect they weren't.
I don't think that Marvel Studios sat down in a boardroom and said like, we're gonna queer bait.
Yeah, well, they wouldn't even think about it that way.
I don't think. No,
but I think they do. Like, I think TV writers like Sherlock and stuff, Supernatural, were probably like the first to catch on to it and like do it self-consciously.
Yeah.
And then, I think by now they've caught on to it, and they might not do it in the movie. Like, it might not even be in the movie, but it'll be like someone in the marketing team will like feed stories to BuzzFeed. You'll think pieces, right? Like, I don't know if I talked about this before. Do you remember that Pixar film Luca?
Yeah, you mentioned it on last episode.
I did. Yeah. So
a lot of people derived like a queer rating from that.
But
there is the academic in me will say like queer reading and like reading against the grain, like, you know, subtextual reading, like those are verifiable, like actual like things.
Oh yeah, no,
like, you
totally.
know, not just like people like fancifully projecting onto stuff. Like they're like I do want to emphasize that like the Stucky dynamic, the Steve Bucky dynamic, it's like ripe fertile soil. I don't know why I said that very weird, because it's
if it ain't Stuckies, it ain't jam.
It has a lot of like attributes to it that are just like perfectly designed for this kind of like fandom to develop in this sort
totally
of,
and
like, you know,
I see why people see it there.
Reading to be driven from it. Yeah,
I'm just
like,
with
you know,
what I'm saying is as higher echelons of the culture industry become self-conscious of this stuff, and know how to exploit it, what they do is, even if it's not self-consciously put into the work itself, I think people on the marketing end they see how it could be there, and anticipating it, they feed stories to like think piece and clickbait sites to hype people up to look for it. So like I said, like, have you ever heard of backmasking?
Yeah.
Where for the audience,
but explain it to our audience who doesn't.
When there's like a recorded message that you hear when you play a song backwards, and there's some ones that are real, and when they're really there, like you hear them clearly and they sound like gibberish forwards. But then there's ones like, the Satan took us to the tool shed and stared at heaven or whatever, where it sounds like gibberish. You can't hear it until you read what's supposed to be there by someone who thinks they did hear it. And then once you've primed your brain to recognize the pattern, suddenly you can hear it. And that's what I think. I think part of it is fandom communities create this naturally. Like, you see other people say, oh, I see this. Oh, I see this. And setting aside the question of what's there or not there or whatever. And then you're more likely to see it because you've got all these other people reinforcing it and kind of prompting it to you. And now I think, again, even setting aside the content of the movie and whether or not the writer or director was thinking about it, um, the marketing people can feed you the prompt to see it. And I think they feed different prompts to different demographics. And it's all sorts of things, queer readings or feminist readings or political statements. And they feed the prompts to multiple demographics because they want them to fight about it, so that they have more mind share of everybody involved. Like we're seeing it again with the racism in the Star Wars fandom thing, and how there's a black person in the new Obi-Wan Kenobi show, and somebody somewhere is mad about it, and that's why it's a good show that you need to watch and support to own the racist.
Yeah,
like it's all
supporting it is morally good of you. That's how you fight racism.
And it's the thing,
show the racist.
If there are people that are really racist and mad about the show, which I'm sure there are, they find them and they provoke them to get publicly mad about it, so they can provoke people to get mad at those guys. But it's all, that's the real conspiracy. That's the real Hydra sowing discord around the world so they can get more power. That's how Disney and a lot of these big corporations now manipulate fandom and anti-fandom and factions of fandom and discourse to get people really emotionally invested in these properties and reading things in them that are not there or barely there, or they're really superficially. Like, oh, this is a poignant 70s style conspiracy thriller about the surveillance state. Like, they want you going in having already anticipated it, so just the little tiny nuggets of it they give you count for more than they do, because they're feeding into a pattern that's already been kind of put in your brain. And I guess that ties, I don't know, I just, that kind of ties everything together, from the queer shipping to the conspiracy stuff. Which again isn't to say like I can see why you look at this movie and see a gay subtext between those characters. It makes sense to me, but just in terms of dynamics and how they're exploited.
So there is I remember, like, during this particular era of my life, I constantly read the Mary Sue.
Oh, it's such an awesome website full of great opinions.
I know. But so I did go through sort of the archives, try to find like, oh, what were some of the articles around like this time? Not from this is an article from 2019. It's about just it's actually like not a bad overview of like the Steve Rodgers Bucky Barnes relationship and like, where it comes from. But I do want to read like a couple passages just to show like sort of like how at the same time like they're not pulling these readings out of nothing. Like, this is stuff you can present and be like, someone will, like, there's a screenshot of a GIF set that made the round on Tumblr from First Avenger where Bucky says to Steve, like, you're keeping the outfit, right? And Steve's like, you know what, I think I am. And someone just added the caption, like, there's no heterosexual explanation for this. Like, sure, yeah, the star-spangly suit is very fruity. He's keeping it. Yeah, pretty fucking gay of him to say. But, like, just at the same time, how, I don't want to say reverent of these movies they are, but, like, almost, like, more forgiving and more, like...
They want to believe the movie in their head is really there and everybody else sees it.
Okay. So
I think, something like that.
Yeah, although this article makes some like very well statements. Like, it does point out that like a lot of people who got really into like this particular ship used it as a way to like really learn about like the queer scene in like the 1920s and 1930s New York, in like the 1940s as well. Like, there again, I presented an academic conference along someone who presented a paper about this very fucking thing. Like, there's a lot of fan work that's just dedicated to using this relationship in particular seemingly as like an avatar of exploring queer history. And there's, you know what, there's something really beautiful about that. I find, like, that's beautiful to me.
Yeah, it's like there were gay guys in the 40s.
That kind of history. There were gay guys, there were gay bisexual guys in the 40s. Like, yes, I definitely understand, and I love the fucking idea, personally, of a bisexual Steve Rodgers or a fucking gay Steve Rodgers. Personally, if you were hold a gun to my head, I will still say I headcanon bisexual Steve Rodgers. But, like, I've put my They Live glasses on, and I'm an adult now, and I watch actual gay movies where, like, guys fuck each other in the ass and, like, come in the camera. And that last movie is Pink Narcissus. It's a real movie, not a porno. And yes, a guy does jizz into the camera. But anyways, so this article is written by Kyla Hale Stern. This was like way back in April of 2019. It's just like a whole overview of like the history of the Stocky relationship. And she points out, like, as regards to the Winter Soldier, the modern day set Winter Soldier was the one that launched this pairing into the stratosphere. Winter Soldier begins with Steve's attempts to build a new life in a new century while still hung up on the ghosts of his past. When one of those ghosts is made flesh and it's revealed that Bucky is alive and now an apparent enemy, it's as though Steve's greatest wish and greatest nightmare have come to pass in the same moment. But his faith in Bucky is unwavering, even when there's no proof that his friend still exists within Winter Soldier's callous shell. This movie is full of dialogue, the sort of dialogue that sings to a shipper's ear. Quote, even when I had nothing, I had Bucky. Steve tells his new friends. Quote, best friends since childhood, Bucky Barnes and Stephen Rodgers were inseparable on both schoolyard and battlefield. End quote. The voiceover from the Captain America Smithsonian exhibit. Quote, but I knew him. The Winter Soldier winces in pained confusion as he tries to understand how it is that he recognized Steve. And you know what? On that scene in particular, they're basically like reconditioning Bucky after his last mission. He's like, that guy, he knew my name. Who was he? Like, that's an emotionally compelling scene. Like, in the way that this article lays out, like, yes, all of that happens. That is an accurate reading of these scenes in that movie and that line delivery. So but I think it's really more the product of, there's just such a like vacancy and a like shallowness to kind of everything around it, that this relationship in particular, takes on acquired like further meaning.
It's like when you get a really bad salad and you're
like
just
emotionally invest into it. Yeah,
it's like you're like a really bad salad. You're just like eating the lettuce around the stuff you don't like.
Oh, see, no, I was thinking like this is like the Steve and Bucky stuff is like strawberries in an otherwise like pretty bland salad.
Yeah.
Like it's the good stuff. It's the good stuff.
You're clinging to the little glimmers of what could or should be. Like, it would be like a way more interesting movie if it was more explicit about, if it was really actually focused on that relationship as a movie a lot more so. But but you touched on something earlier. Guess what?
If Kevin Feige was, go ahead.
Oh, sorry,
I was just gonna say, if Kevin Feige was really dedicated to bisexual Steve Rodgers, he would have given us a three-way between Steve, Bucky, and Peggy. But not gonna happen. Anyways, go on.
That's the thing. We can't have much sex in this
movie. Have fun. We can't have fun stuff like that.
Nobody can fuck. But they if, and that's the other thing too, because these movies need to be everyone for everybody. If they're gonna be, they have to be sexy in the most muted way possible. If they're gonna be gay, it's gay in the most muted. Like, it has to be gay in a way where it's like gay people can see it if they want to, but people who don't want to see it can also not see it. Same with like Star Wars and everything else.
Edit it out for China.
That too, yeah. So it needs to be like, it's just like, again, like everything needs to be.
My moms want me home by 7.
everything needs to be triangulatable, so it can like it needs to be like again, like Jesus and toast. You see what you want to see looking at it, so it can't commit in any explicit sense to anything. But you talked about earlier, like people like being so desperate to see their themselves or their interests or proclivities represented in these movies at the seeming expense or ignorance of the fact that there's whole swaths of stuff that do. But it's just, it's not superhero movies, big budget superhero movies, so they don't want to watch it, I guess. So they're sort of like starved, but they're also kind of starving themselves by not stepping outside the absolute middle of the mainstream.
Like, if you think, if you're someone who thinks this is like a quintessential gay movie, or like a movie that's like, or just any real, like, then you haven't been watching real movies. Like, go watch a Todd Haynes movie. Go watch Poison by Todd Haynes. Go watch fucking The Living End by Greg Araki. Go watch
Nowhere.
Rainier Winter Fassbender film. Like, go watch a fucking John Waters movie where fucking giant gay drag queen eats dog shit. That's actual gay shit. This is like it's fun like sand to play in. Like, it's a play box. It's a sandbox that you play in. Like, it's fun to but like, you're not actually playing with anything that's meaningfully subversive or challenging of the status quo,
or even of yourself as a member of the audience, right? Like, it's like, right. I want my ice cream to be nutritious. It's kind of what it feels like in a way. You know, like people want to eat nothing but ice cream, but they want it to have all the stuff they think matters also in it. And I mean, like, don't get me wrong. Like, if they actually commit to making a gay superhero, fine. I mean, I don't know. I'm not a big, like, I'm skeptical of the representation matters idea at that level, but like, I'm fine. A gay superhero, great, go for it. Like, if you can actually make it a good movie, which they can't.
But I would like to, but it's like, I think the challenge there is like, you know, you don't want to be like, his defining trait is that he's gay, because then it's going to be like, this sucks. It's just a complete,
but it's like
one note.
Yeah, or like it's going to be
the ambiguously gay duo. The ambiguously gay duo. They are taking on evil, come what may. They are fighting all crime to save the day. They're extremely close in an ambiguous way. They're ambiguously gay. They're ambiguously gay. The ambiguously gay duo.
The ambiguously gay duo. Tonight's episode, a hard one to swallow.
But then you don't want it to be like, you know, this gay superhero, he goes, you know, he just tell he's gay because he shops at Whole Foods.
Yeah, but I mean,
or something where it's just like so in the background that it doesn't matter.
But and
that it doesn't really like have any sort of. But like it to like people for whom it means something to be like out and represented, like that's not going to do anything for them either. So they're not going to, like, the audience for that, like that demographic might not tune in.
That's the problem is you'll never really see yourself represented in these types of movies, because these types of movies have to be everything to everybody. So all they're ever going to be is little hints and glimmers, like a little gesture at this demographic, a little gesture at that demographic, but not a lot for anybody. They can't, because they have to be, they're amorphous blob films that can't be too much of anything. And that makes it impossible to get what you want out of them in this regard.
Yeah, if you're a cock-hungry twink who just loves getting loves having like anonymous hookups in the bathroom of like your local gay club, you're not going to see yourself represented at all in a Marvel movie.
No one will see themselves represented.
If you're a big old slut, you're not going to see yourself represented in a Marvel movie, except maybe a couple shots of like Black Widow looking like sexy, and like cool. There is one shot in this movie though. It's during like that opening action scene on the fucking on the fucking
the first mission from Call of Duty 4.
There's a one shot like Natasha turns around and she's had some like pretty great fight choreography, and again it's just like the camera lingers on Scarlett Johansson's ass. It's like center frame. It's like yes, she has a nice ass, and like yes, Natasha looks great in that like cat suit, but like it feels so like disjointed from everything else because it's just like clearly an ass shot.
Oh yeah, it's just kind of grafted in there.
It cuts to just CGI Chris Evans running on a CGI ship.
But that's because it's like it's not organic horniness. It's here's our allotted like 3% of sexual gratification that we can put in these movies.
You know what? You want to what was organic horniness? When Steve was wearing that wife beater. That was the point. Okay, I'm sorry. I forgot that happened, and I paused the movie and I was like, thank you.
And you paused the movie for about 15 minutes.
I paused the movie.
And you locked the door.
The movie for about 15 minutes. Yeah, no, oh my God, they're gonna do something. There's a similar scene in, because I think, yeah, we're gonna have to watch fucking Age of Ultron. No.
Yeah, what does
no,
come
I think
next?
Guardians of the Galaxy is next.
Okay, well,
but we're gonna very soon get to Age of Ultron, and really the only scene I like in that movie, or I remember that's lasted or stuck with me, is just like is just Chris Evans in this tight blue like Under Armour shirt. He just rips a log in half. And it's like that, like
and
that.
And you're just like, I wish I was
like,
that log.
I want to be that log. Also, before we sort of start talking about like why you should watch other better films that we've already mentioned numerous times, in this episode, like, can we just talk about how corny the ending is? Like that, the big. Not and I'm not talking about like the fight between like
the ending,
although
like,
it's literally just a repeat of like the end of First Avenger again. They're just on this flying contraption that's crashing. Like it's a fight on a crashing like sky vehicle.
Which is conceptually like it could be a cool thing. Again, it's got too much green screen and it lacks
it's that
way
sense
of like
screen,
being actually
like,
out there. But I want to do the ending. I think I've got a little bit of a rant in me for this one, if you don't mind.
Okay, yeah, because I found the climax so corny that like this is like it's like it's like, oh, there are good people who are not going to listen and bow down.
Let me jump in. I've got to go.
Go.
Captain America goes back to S.H.I.E.L.D. HQ, and he gets onto the PA, and it's like, so all of you who aren't bad guys, there's a lot of bad guys. Time to try and fight back. He just goes on the PA system and explains the plot to all of the NPCs that work for S.H.I.E.L.D. And then, they take down the helicarriers, blah, blah, blah. And then at the end, this is the ending of an episode of The Simpsons. Lisa Goes to Washington, if you remember it. She writes the essay.
When America was born on that hot July day in 1776, the trees in Springfield Forest were tiny saplings trembling towards the sun. And as they were nourished by Mother Earth, so too did our fledgling nation find strength in the simple ideals of equality and justice. Who would have thought such mighty oaks or such a powerful nation could grow out of something so fragile, so pure? Thank you.
And then she sees a senator doing corruption.
I told you no one ever came here.
So, Bob, where do we stand on Springfield Forest? Do I get my logging permit?
Well, let me put it this way, Jerry.
Timber!
And then writes a really angry essay that upsets everyone.
I would like to read a a different essay, if I may. The city of Washington was built on a stagnant swamp some 200 years ago, and very little has changed. It stank then, and it stinks now. Only today it is the fetid stench of corruption that hangs in the air. Ooh, ruckus.
And then in this kind of like ironic joke happy ending, some guy gets on the phone. It's like,
Senator, there's a problem at the essay contest.
Please, son, I'm very busy.
A little girl is losing faith in democracy.
Good Lord.
And then, oh, the corrupt senator...
The Honorable Bob Arnold
gets arrested. The guy bribing him gets arrested. Everything comes together. It's like, oh, I guess democracy works. Don't! And that's how this movie ends, unironically, is Gary Shandling, the secret Hydra, who turns out has been a Hydra guy the whole time, the sleazy senator, gets arrested. Everybody gets arrested. Everyone knows the truth. Everyone, all the data gets leaked to the media. And when that happens, everybody cares and reforms happen and things change. It's not like we haven't seen horrible stuff get leaked and put out over and over and over again, only for nobody to care and for a lot of the press to kind of collude with just sort of sitting on it. And like how many fucking how much of that Snowden stuff never actually came out? That like Glenn Greenwald or whoever just sat on it forever. And how much of an impact did it make when it did come out? Everyone just kind of shrugged their shoulders and went, yep, things are fucked up. Can't do anything about it. Guess that's the way it is. I think...
No, it's... And Natasha uploads, like, all of Hydra's files onto, like, fucking 4chan or Reddit.
Yeah, and...
Probably she's like, it's going viral. It's
like this movie, they started writing this movie a year after the Chelsea Manning leaks and the Collateral Murder video. And then the Edward Snowden stuff happened while it was in production, which was probably like nice timing for it to be in the consciousness when the movie came out.
They were certainly happy for that.
But it's like, we saw what happened. The people that leaked this stuff got horribly punished and nothing changed. No one went to jail. Nothing was reformed.
Reality Winner is still in jail, by the way.
Yeah, no, she's not winning reality.
That's the first time that joke's been made.
It's just, I can't not. It's like right there.
I know, but she's a political prisoner, man. Cut her some slack.
I know. I don't mean to be cruel. It's just a pun. Yeah, it's her parents' fault. It's her parents' fault for naming her reality. Whatever. It's like naming your kid Crystal Glass, which I did know a girl named Crystal Glass.
I think my stepsister knew a girl whose first name was Crystal, and then like her middle name was Duh, and her last name was Lear. So her full name was Crystal Was it like
Chantel or something?
It was like Crystal Chandelier.
God, that's... No,
her middle name was Shanda. So her full name was Crystal Chandelier.
I'm sorry, don't give your kids a pun name. That's sadistic. That's just
just
horrible.
Like asking them to be shoved into a locker and bullied.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
The ending is so just super mega. I mean, it's like, oh, S.H.I.E.L.D.'s been destroyed. Nick Fury goes into hiding. And then, oh my God, right. And then they're like standing around, like Nick Fury's going to hiding. He's faked his death. They're all standing around his gravestone. And what does it say on the gravestone? But a reference to Pulp Fiction with the path of the righteous man, in quotes, ellipses, Ezekiel 25:27. The Bible verse that Quentin Tarantino just made up. It's not even a real Bible verse.
Oh, wait, I didn't know it was made up.
It's just made up. And you can, if you listen to it, you can kind of tell it doesn't really sound like a real Bible verse. He just made it up.
Oh, my God.
And it's just like, hey, Samuel L. Jackson was in Pulp Fiction. And it's like...
Oh, that's so corny.
It's so... And I mean, like, that kind of stuff can be fun if it's more subtle or just something maybe a little more obscure. But it's so on the nose, and it's like the most obvious, like one of the most famous things Samuel L. Jackson ever did. And it's like
that's like as obvious as casting Robert Redford.
Yeah, this guy's had a long career. He's done 10,000 movies. It's so on the nose. It's like he might as well have said, like, to Captain America, I think I'll walk the earth for a while. Like, I don't know, man. Like, come on.
He might as well have been like, I'm tired of these motherfucking hydras on this motherfucking helicarrier.
Exactly. And,
like,
and it's like Quentin Tarantino is like the opposite of any Marvel movie. It's like Quentin Tarantino, whatever you think about him, a Quentin Tarantino movie is just Quentin Tarantino making whatever movie he wants to make, full of just sex and violence and feet, and whatever he wants to do. It's the exact
beautiful,
opposite,
dirty feet
of a Marvel movie. And they would never let him. You think they've ever tried to get him to make a Marvel movie just for the clout? And he just obviously he said no because there's no way in hell.
Recently? Like in the
ever.
MCU
Do you think,
era?
Do you ever think they're like, oh, what if we got Tarantino to lend us his prestige?
Early on in the 90s, I think we mentioned he was like a
I mean
looked at for
the MCU
stuff.
As an institution, because
that's what I mean. Okay,
they like to get directors to lend them their prestige, but obviously he would never in a million years.
I mean, they got James Gunn back.
Yeah.
So I guess that's sort of the closest they're willing to go. One thing, there is a funny part in that, because they cut to the Shield agent room where Sharon Carter and all the other Shield underlings are being directed to program the drones to hunt Captain America, to get him. And there's this one. Wait, no, it's the other. See, I'm already starting to forget the order of this.
There's various scenes of people in computer rooms
at the end, just before the helicarriers are about to start shooting presumably millions of people along the East Coast.
I can't get over how stupid this is. They've got a bunch of small for a naval gun but big for regular guns on them, and they just hover over Washington DC, and they're just going to shoot every high value target on the entire eastern seaboard from Washington DC. Not missiles, not even guided missiles. They're just going to shoot them with guns from hundreds and thousands of miles away. It's so fucking dumb.
It's at the Miguel, please edit this clip in. It's at the very it's just as Steve takes the helicarrier, the map offline, and the guy working the
you see this map of all of it's acquiring all the targets.
Extremely Long Island voice. He's like,
where are the targets?
And I don't know. That was just that's another thing I think Marvel movies and a lot of movies start doing of this era. This was a big problem I had with the Candyman remake or reboot, is just it'll try to drop a joke or be funny at a time when it's supposed to be tense.
Yeah, and it's not
tension breaking humor.
Yeah, because you can't be too tense. You can never be too tense. You can never be too sad. You can never be too mysterious. It's got to be
the fucking scene where two.
It's got to be the emotional
friends,
equivalent
one of whom has been tortured and brainwashed for 70 fucking years and has lost his arm. Let that scene be fucking dramatic. Just let it be dramatic, because that's the good part of your movie.
And that's the thing with these movies, because they're not, people say, well, Marvel's the fun, colorful movie. Well, kind of, but no, because they can never be too much of anything. So they're not the Zack Snyder or Nolan DC stuff, but they're not campy or outrageous or there's always that, they always kind of walk this line where it's well, we're fun and crazy stuff happens, but it's also kind of realistic, and we're kind of self-aware, and we're a little bit above it all, and we don't take it too seriously, because no one could ever take this too seriously. But that
Birds of Prey is the only movie that really has done that. I haven't seen. I'm actually also kind of interested in seeing that new
the James Gunn Suicide Squad,
the James Gunn one. I am certain it's gonna be a lot fucking better than the fucking first one.
Yeah.
But that in that aspect, DC, or at least a couple more recent DC movies, have way surpassed Marvel movies at that
because I think with WB and DC, you have a more old-fashioned balance between the commercial interest and the people making it, and it's not
Space Jam 2.
And these movies aren't, well, okay, Space Jam 2, but I mean that's like one movie, right? Like, well, Space Jam 1 is kind of the same way, but it's not all a machine, right? It's not all a machine, or all these movies have to be homogenized and fit together into one thing. And they kind of wanted, you can tell they kind of wanted to, but they couldn't make it work. And I think they realized, like, well, whatever it is we do, being not Marvel is the one thing that works for us. So that's how you get, like, and I don't want to overhype these movies, but like that's how you get something like the Batman, where it's like,
because we're gonna have to watch watch Suicide Squad, and
Suicide Squad is like
Batman versus Suicide Squad.
Like, I mean, a lot of these movies aren't good, but like you can get
Birds of Prey is good.
I
actually can't wait to rewatch Birds of Prey. I know
the quality level's way more uneven, but they can go higher because they're less constrained by the mega franchise thing. By the machine. They're not quite as assembly line. So you can get, I haven't seen Birds of Prey, but you can get something like the Batman, like again, not an amazing movie, but a good movie, a genuinely good movie that feels like a real movie, that has sets and costumes and
like The Dark Knight, which is actually shot in real places on in a real city with real sets and real, like,
just like the stuff
actual, not CG boats,
and stuff that was just
real boats,
stuff that just used to be like every movie had once upon a time, so long ago.
And now it's all just made in post. Yeah. It's all just made in post, if not like rendered before they even cast actors.
Yeah, I want to find out
that's the real
exactly when they start doing that. Exactly when the third floor visual effects company just directs half the movie before they've got a director or a writer.
I mean, I think this is like, I mean, it's been like this for a while, really, in these movies. But
yeah,
like,
well, I mean, they bragged about it openly.
Really sinks in, and we're like, oh, this is the house style.
Yeah, I mean, they've had a house style and a formula up to this point, but it wasn't.
But like, this is the one that really
where they really like start aggressively
really
enforcing it. But
let's talk about better. Let's talk about a couple better movies.
Yeah, was there anything else you wanted to touch on before we do?
No.
Okay.
Other than no.
Yeah, I think
not really.
Yeah,
no.
you're.
Well, I mean, yeah, no.
Yeah, so I assume we're both just gonna say like Parallax View.
Parallax View and 3 Days of the Condor,
which I wanted to watch before I watched this, but I didn't quite get around to because I'm a horrible procrastinator.
3 Days of the Condor. I think I like 3 Days of the Condor more, but that's solely because Robert Redford was very hot. I'm sorry. I'm sorry if the lead like protagonist or lead like actors being hot is like a quintessential aspect of enjoying movies and like why I enjoy certain movies, like beautiful people in cinema. Like that's you don't want to watch like, well, I'm that's not entirely true. Like a lot of people make movies where it's just
but like if you're gonna watch like a Hollywood movie,
it's like it's an Italian peasant, like a Pasolini film, or you're fucking watching Gummo. Like you know what? I watch Trash Humpers. I love Trash Humpers. It's fun. But
a Hollywood big budget movie, like give me beauty.
You want to see attractive people. You don't want to see like some lady who clearly did like who's clearly like just did like a bunch of pornos before being cast in this, or she's like just as like a Russian mail order bride. Like, you don't want people who look like they'd be in a Neil Breen movie.
This
just like taken off the street, or like someone they just grabbed off the street for like a Tim and Eric skit.
Yeah,
like you don't know.
No, give me beauty, and that's the thing with these movies. I mean, like they have beautiful people in the cast, but even just like the way they're presented. But like in general, I feel like these movies lack beauty. They just are absent of ugliness, and that's kind of like, again, like the kind of defining characteristic. A lot of stuff now is nothing especially good or interesting, just an absence of things considered bad or discomforting.
even not even ugliness, like gaudiness, like gaudiness, and like really indulging in its own artifice, and like specifically the artifice of filmmaking itself.
Yeah,
there's such a, like, that's the charm to like rear view projection photography and more like old school kind of film techniques.
I think I mentioned it to you. I don't know if I talked about it on stream. I think I mentioned to you a couple months ago, I got high with my cousin. We watched the 1980 Flash Gordon.
Yeah, I think, yeah, you mentioned that.
And I think like that movie is pretty, I mean, not like amazing, but like it's a really fun watch because it is gaudy and like has awesome production design, and it does relish in its artificiality, like gloriously so. And that's just also, it's weirdly horny. Like, it's really oddly horny movie. And that's what these movies could be. Like, I'm not saying it's like, oh, the movie needs to be super smart and have awesome cutting political insight, blah blah. I'm just saying
everyone needs to like
if it's gonna be goofy entertainment, it could be goofy entertainment with fucking style. And that's the thing that's absent. There's no style. It's just, it exists in that middle zone of, again, not being particularly off-putting to anyone, which means it can't be particularly interesting in any way. And I just, everything in our culture seems to be heading towards that, and it's so frustrating.
And I guess I have two other movies I want to recommend.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, two other movies I want to recommend. One I actually reviewed for the Arts Views. Didn't love it, because kind of like lessened in the month since I've watched it, but it stands out because Sebastian Stan is in it, and he's pretty scary in it. It's a movie called Fresh. I'm not going to give away the twist to it.
I saw them talk about this on RLM.
Yeah. No, he's great in the movie. He's Sebastian Stan, like, he does a good job in this movie, in The Winter Soldier. Like, he's like, he kind of had to play like multiple characters by default, like, you know, Bucky Barnes, and then, you know, the Winter Soldier, and then like the in between. And that's a task for like an actor, and it's, you know, he's stepped up to the goal, and he seems to do a very similar, like, chameleon-esque kind of thing with the role he plays in Fresh.
So you're a fan
he's skeevy
of Sebastian Stan?
I'm a little bit of a stan.
You're a Stan?
And the other movie I'm gonna recommend, probably the reason I had such an adverse reaction to this rewatch of a movie I previously had rated pretty high on Letterboxd was because I saw Crimes of the Future the other night.
Oh yeah, how was that? I didn't see a review.
Working on the review for that, so let's just say I'm still digesting.
Okay. I'm
still digesting my thoughts, but Cronenberg, he's fucking back, baby. He's fucking back, baby. My roommate did not like it, to the extent that we got like burgers after. It was giving me vibes of like after like I saw a fucking Jurassic World, and my dad took me and bought me a drink at like a restaurant, and I was still like so furious about how bad the movie was that I was like, I don't want to drink. But I loved it. Not my favorite Cronenberg, but like, holy shit, have I missed seeing like body horror, fleshy technology, weird shit, like holes being penetrated, people eating microplastics. It's body is reality, baby.
Long live the new flesh.
Sex is the
I guess the
surgery
old flesh.
is the new sex. Sex is the new surgery, or surgery is the new sex. It's the new flesh is coming, and it is filled with microplastics.
We should do Videodrome.
Go
and
yeah. Like, I just rewatched Videodrome too.
There's a couple things I'd want to pair with that, but I love Videodrome.
I see Debbie Harry as Nikki Brand in that movie, and I point to the TV, and I'm like, that me. God, I wish I was her.
Just one of the hottest women that ever lived.
She's oh my god, she puts the cigarette on her tit, and I'm like,
yeah. Oh man,
I heard that shudder of breath from you.
No, just whew.
Yeah, no. If please go, please, because I know we're releasing episodes closer now to or when we record them, so this is presumably going to be out middle of this coming week. But yeah, go see Crimes of the Future in the theater and give it like at least 4, if not 4.5 stars on Letterboxd. I already saw that score jump from a 3.2 up to a 3.4, and I'm like, hell yeah, baby. The sickos, we're coming out in droves. But one ticket for Crimes of the Future, please. I can't,
like, our theater, like, unless it's like once in a while they'll do like a regional or local documentary and like do a matinee of it, but it's like, our theater really only ever shows like the biggest releases because I live in a small town.
Oh, that's
so like,
being, like, deprived.
And like the town I'm moving to isn't that much bigger, so it's like, you know, like all these movies I'll never get. I can't. I'd have to, even when I move, I'll have to like take an hour trip and then take a 2-hour ferry and yeah. But if I wanted to see them in the theater, it's like it'd be an expedition. Like they're not coming to these little local theaters. They're not taking the risk on Crimes of the Future or The Northman or something, unfortunately. But
yeah.
I really want to see that. I mean, I've never seen Existence. I'm not a.
It's very, very much like Existence. It's in the same sort of like stylistic
I've been meaning to watch
vein.
that for eons.
Like it doesn't go as like, it's not as bloody and like mind melding as like Videodrome. No one's heads explode. It's more like, because David Cronenberg like started like writing the movie around the time he was making Existence, so it's like a 20-year-old script. So it completely makes sense that it's kind of like, it's more like restrained, and so I understand like why some people are like disappointed by it. But like, this is, I'm sorry, you're giving David Cronenberg is giving me like,
I feel like if it was
Viggo
like
Mortensen has a stomach pussy and he gets that eaten by Léa Seydoux. So like, you can't tell me he's giving us nothing.
I think if
anyways,
it was
my full review is incoming. I got to work on it tomorrow. And
I think it would be like
week.
Like if it was like just like the goriest movie he ever made, it would be like kind of try hard. Whereas this feels like he's just doing the thing he wants to do, which is what I want out of artists. Just do the thing you want to do. Don't try to. I mean, there's one thing to like pursue technical excellence, or whatever, but like, don't try to impress me or do the things like, I'm back, I'm doing my shtick, like whatever. Just make the movie you want to make that stirs your passions. That's all I want out of filmmakers. As for me, I've got a couple recommendations on top of Parallax View, which I think is a pretty awesome movie. So like, I'm like pretty outrageously straight.
Two bros chilling in the hot tub, 5 feet apart because they're not gay.
It's Pride Month. Come on, this is
no. But I'm getting that. I'm just saying. But I exist.
Okay.
Inexplicably,
you preface this with, I'm very fucking straight. Okay.
But I
so it's a really gay
I seem
movie.
to exist in an inexplicably queer cultural context. Like, just everybody I know kind of is, almost, at least online, which is where all the people I know are. I don't know why that is. It's always been slightly mysterious to me. I'm fine with it. It's cool, but it's just like, I don't understand how I got here. I'm fine to be here. I don't know how I got here. I sometimes wonder, like, why am I the token straight guy
at the party, and you're just like holding your red Solo cup, and you're just like
the meme, the guy standing against the wall. It's like, nobody knows I'm straight.
Yeah, you're the guy. Yeah, nobody knows I'm straight.
But I wonder about that sometimes. Like, how did I end up in kind of like queer trans?
I thought about that too, and then I realized, it's because I'm bisexual.
Yes, yeah, I'm not. So I don't have an explanation. I think it's just like what happens if you're on the computer a lot. But yeah. I do have a couple queer films to recommend. You mentioned Greg or Rocky earlier. I want to recommend Nowhere.
Yeah,
that movie's vibes.
Absolutely Nowhere.
It's an enjoyable movie.
I actually watched while you were still sleeping before we were supposed to start recording is actually very much in the same vein as a Greg Araki. It's called Terminal USA. It's streaming on Criterion Channel. It's like an hour long. It's fucking great. So if you really like Nowhere, or if you love Nowhere, definitely watch Terminal USA. It's like the exact same like cocaine Greg Araki was like shoving up his nose during that
I'll have
era.
to put that on my watch list.
Nowhere is fucking great.
And
what's the other gay movie?
Funeral Parade of Roses.
Oh my god, really? I was not expecting you to pull out Funeral Parade of Roses.
Oh yeah, that's
right there. I was not
nobody
expecting
would.
You
That's
to
kind of
why.
Admittedly, that's kind of why I wanted to pull it out, because I knew
shit.
nobody was going to see that one coming.
That just knocked me the fuck out. I was like, oh my god, that's a real that's a fucking actual gay classic.
Yeah, no, it's
like
really interesting,
like a real gay classic,
and really strange. It's like it's one of those like it's Japanese movie, made in the late 60s, and it has this kind of like cinema verite thing with this kind of higher drama weaving through it that then will just, the conclusion of it is kind of like comes at you left field and like really shifts the movie tonally. But it's a really interesting movie as a movie, and as like a glimpse into the gay, the queer culture and the counterculture in Japan in that time. Like it's like
also kind of does a couple stylistic things that I think Hideaki Anno later like looked at, was like, I'm gonna do that in my sad robot anime.
Yeah, but it's a really interesting, fascinating movie. As a guy like whom everything in it I'm seeing is sort of alien, and it's a good movie too. But it's such a different, both in terms of time and place and culture.
I'm glad they're having fun.
But it's such a different perspective, and that's, I think, one of the really amazing things about film in any medium of art is being able to get a different perspective on the world, or look at at the world from a different time or place or experience. And that's why like so much representation stuff is frustrating, because it's like I just want my experience as I understand it at the most superficially symbolic level reflected back at me. And this is true. Like the guys that claim, like the guys that complain about there being like gay people in a movie are guilty of this in the same way in much larger numbers. And that to me seems to be like missing the point. The same with so much representation stuff being just like slotting in people with different identities into the same movies that say the same stuff they always did.
Yeah.
It's like to me, like real meaningful diversity would be spreading out the resources to make movies and shows and art to a lot of different types of people that aren't trying to please everyone or slot into anything. So you can get real, like, not just diversity in a checklist sense, but real diversity of like perspectives and experiences and ideas and styles.
Yes.
But Funeral Parade of Roses.
Russos need to stop letting the Russos make movies. Stop. They've basically just been handed the keys to like the movie making.
Well,
business, I mean, and we're just like, it's the Russos' world now.
They brought this. The production went smoothly. They brought the movie in on time and on budget. It made a bunch of money, and I mean, I'm assuming if everyone had fun on set, they're like easy enough to work with. And being like sitcom guys, I assume they like, because I mean, really, with like all the effects and all the pre-visualization stuff, all you really need the director for is just the dramatic comic scenes between the actors, just to get those performances.
Yeah.
That's really all you need them for. And so like, that's what guys like that will give you. That's where they slot in into the machine. It's like a really limited concept of what a director is and does.
Yeah. So I guess.
So yeah, that's.
Damn. This is our longest. This might end up being our longest episode.
Let me see our timestamps. It might be. Yeah, but.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is our turning point. This is, I think, I thought it would be Avengers, but it's not really. It's this. This is really, I think, where we start. Well, we'll see how I
think Guardians of the Galaxy holds up
next. That'll be that might be the high water mark for the whole thing. Maybe. It's been a few years.
Maybe.
Because I remembered liking the first 2/3 of this movie and then not liking and then really hating kind of the ending. And then I watched it again. I was like, oh no, this whole movie is just like really mediocre and kind of slipshod. But yeah, thank you again, everybody,
thank you for listening
and checking us out. And please come back for more when we return with is it Guardians of the Galaxy next?
Guardians.
Guardians of the Galaxy. And then when's like the next non-Marvel movie that's of this type, like a DC movie or a big franchise thing that's worth talking about?
I think it's gonna fucking be Batman versus Superman in like, what was that, 2016?
Was that 2016? Was that late?
So we still got a couple more Marvel movies. Yeah. No, DC, like after fucking Man of Steel, they were like scrambling. And
March
they just
2016.
put out another shitty movie. Yeah, so that's they're playing catch up. While Marvel's already releasing like 2 movies a year, and that's gonna be increased to like fucking 5.
Yeah.
Nowadays,
the machine just revs up until it collapses in on itself.
It's getting close to 1 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, East Coast.
So I'm gonna try to go to bed before I have to start writing about Crimes of the Future tomorrow.
Nicole's gonna pass out, and I'm probably, because my sleep schedule's been so fucked, I'm just gonna probably stay up all night.
You're gonna go back to sleep.
No, I'm probably gonna end up just like staying up till like 5 in the morning or something.
All right. Good night, everybody, and we're with you to the end of the line.
Good night, and remember, don't trust the government.